All right, guys. So the Pittsburgh Penguins have themselves a GM, and they also have themselves a guy that's going to be pretty controversial, or at least he has been, that's going to be working for them in hockey operations. And those two men are Ron Hextall as the GM and Brian Burke as head of hockey operations. Hextall, as we know, was let go by the Philadelphia Flyers back in 2018, and they're going to turn to a rival to help keep their Stanley Cup window open. How ironic is that? Or at least a former rival anyways, as Ron Hextall was the GM of the Flyers. He was let go, and he was accused of being too overly patient with some of the prospects. As we know, he didn't want to rush goaltender Carter Hart, and the Flyers did end up bringing him up to the big team after Hextall was let go. And then that move looked genius, and it kind of made it look like, oh, it was justifiable to fire Hextall. But I don't know. I think all in all, he is a good GM. He developed some good talent, or he picked out some good talent anyways for the Philadelphia Flyers. And I think he can continue to do that for the Pittsburgh Penguins as well. And if you can get that cheap depth, get a lot of good young players on entry-level deals to come in behind that, to be that second wave of support behind Evgeny Malkin, Sidney Crosby, Jake Gensel, Chris Letang. For those guys, I think the Penguins could keep their window open a little bit longer. I don't know how much more longer, just because of the fact that, you know, they're not getting any younger, their core group of guys, and they're going to have to be bad again, I'm sure, at some point. And I guess this marks the end of the tenure for Brian Burke at Sportsnet. He was there in April of 2018. He began, so about almost 3 years, I guess. And for him, his last job as an NHL executive, I guess you could say, was back with the Calgary Flames. He had a similar position. I believe he was head of hockey operations there as well. So for Brian Burke, he's done with Sportsnet. You know, they should have maybe kept him on at Sportsnet. Imagine doing that. I don't think they can, just because you can't have a guy working in the media at the same time as he's working for an NHL team. But imagine if they did that, though. And you have, like, you know, that segment with him and David Amber, and David asks him, like, oh, let's say Pittsburgh's on a big losing streak or something, and David asks him, like, oh, Brian, your team's lost 7 in a row, they've given up 60 goals over that 7-game stretch, what do you think? And he'd be like, oh, you know, David, we gotta turn Crosby into a goon, we gotta turn Malkin into a goon, we need more truculence in our lineup, that's how we're gonna get out of this losing streak. I mean, you know, Brian Burke, he's got a pretty old school mindset, and when he was with the Calgary Flames, the Flames were always known as kind of a tougher team. When he was the GM of the Leafs, they were known as a tougher team. So Pittsburgh tried to beef up a little bit, and I think that's kind of where their downfall happened. But for Brian Burke, is he going to try and make them a beefier team, or is he going to not really have a say in the roster and who's on there? Is it going to just be all Ron Hextall? I'm sure he will have a say as president of hockey ops. I'm sure Hextall might get the last call with him being the GM and stuff like that. But guys, those are my thoughts on these hirings. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, especially if you're a Penguins fan. I'd like to hear from you. And are you terrified, especially that Brian Burke is in your organization, just because he's so controversial, and he's a bit of a dinosaur when it comes to the game, to the way the game should be played. Like, he's got some pretty old-fashioned mindsets, like, you know, as far as physicality and fighting and, you know, stuff like that. I don't really agree with his views on stuff like that, just because I'm more of a, you know, speed and skill type of guy. I like that type of game more than a physical type of game. I think I've made that very clear on this channel. But let me know all that and more in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe and share this video, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.